Boards, games, board games. We might be talking about board games or playtesting, but I'm not gonna shout. I am here with Pearl. We are going to give discussion a whirl. We are going to talk about a playtest yesterday, where a bunch of folk went to play. And this is a great idea. And I could sadly not be there. Board games is what we're talking about. Board games. I'm not going to shout. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. It is 10 a.m. UK time. Time for Busy Beats and Board Game Blether with Pearl Ho.
Hi.
And yes, as the banner says, we're discussing Croydon's first Playfest. So it was organised by Scott, Minerva, and also James. What's James' surname? Can you remember? James of Magnate fame, like who made Magnate the first city. James Naylor. James, that's the one. And this is a wonderful thing that happened. If you had to summarise it in 5 words, how would you summarise it?
Games, energy, fun, sunny.
Oh,
that's only 4 words, but I'll go with that.
So you're being super efficient, as opposed to me. Like, I like to push it to the limits of my word count. And when I run a Kickstarter, like when you get 60 characters, I'm at least 55 characters.
Just to name the game, best for you.
Oh no, that doesn't. I can't even name the name in the title thing. I am like, yeah, but that's another story. Let's talk about, except for the playtest event, recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other sites, recent highlights. So of course we're going to talk about the playtest event later, but first, the reason I didn't go, I got up really early. I wanted to redo my prototype. I didn't quite manage to do it, and I woke up at was out of bed at 6:40, but I didn't manage to actually do much. Like, I managed to get up and shower and wash my hair at least, and so that felt good. But yeah, I was just, I'm just a bit tense about this journey to Croydon. It's going to be like 1 hour, 12 minutes, and like if I took public transport, it's not like it would take less time. Yeah. It would take longer, and I was like, something might happen. I'm like unsure about the way, and like, I don't know, it's just a lot of anxiety kicked in, and there was, this prototype, I'm not sure if I feel it's good enough. And I did, to the point where I did a show about it. In the end, I ended up not going. So I spoke to Jess. I was just almost frozen and paralyzed. But what did happen is my friend Michael came over and we walked together to the park, where there was a Pride picnic happening, and I met loads of people. It was lovely. There were loads of people I knew. One person I knew that I wasn't expecting to see, which was lovely. One person I wasn't expecting to see, which was less lovely, but that I handled it okay. But yeah, and I even got to play some games. I got to play 2 games. I played a game about stuffing balloons as a team without talking, but it's a card game. There are no actual balloons. And first time we scored 0 out of 10 because one person was terrible. Second time we scored 9 out of 10, which is a vast improvement. And then we played Yogi. I hope that other people can see us. Hello, Timmy. It is lovely to see you. Thank you all the way from Nova Scotia. Always lovely to have you. And yeah, what have you been up to? But yeah, it was just a lovely picnic, and I enjoyed seeing the people. And around 7:30, like from 3 o'clock, let's say, until 7:30, so I had a good few hours. I felt like I had a bit of a day out. And so,
sounds like a day out.
Yeah, it was good. And yeah, I was definitely sad to not be there. But let's talk about brilliant things. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Would you like to talk about clocks? Do you think that clocks are brilliant?
Clocks?
Yeah, I mean, letting you know what time of day it is, just timepieces in general.
Yeah, and I mean, the sheer level of accuracy, right? Mm-hmm. That it's, you might have to readjust a clock a little bit once a year, but actually that's a whole year and just ticks away, and it's never.
They're amazing. I mean, especially with the ones that can be accurate to the second. And like the quartz clock, it's like this little pulsating crystal. That blows my mind. That these tiny, apparently, pulsations manage to keep the. I think that's the way it works. I mean, no one take my word for it. I'm not an expert on clocks, just to make that clear. But, you know, look it up yourself. It is, I think, pretty amazing. Clocks. And hello, Legends DM. It is lovely to see you as well. And we're talking about clocks, just for the minute. But yeah, clocks are brilliant.
Yeah, clocks are pretty nice. Little watches as well. I guess a watch is sort of a mini clock, if you think about it. I used to have keep a clock even in my bathroom, and I never thought about it because I just had an extra clock and I put it in there.
So would it be to kind of time your bathing to make sure that you don't spend too long in there?
It wasn't deliberate per se. I unpacked when I moved into the flat, and I had an extra clock, so I kept it there. And one time a friend came to visit me, and they're like, "Wow, you must be very like time conscious and like want to be on time because there's a clock in the bathroom." I'm like, "Oh yeah, there is a clock in the bathroom." Now that you mention it, it's not there anymore. I give it to someone else who needed a clock, but so weird what you prompt yourself to do.
I have to admit, when I moved into my place, there was one clock. And I took it off, but like I know that kind of goes against what I'm saying about clocks being brilliant, but I love having a clock on the computer or on the phone, and it feels like that's enough. I don't feel like I have to replace a battery. But I think that there is something lovely about knowing the time, and I think there's something lovely in what I use when I'm showering. I almost every day, I listen to Making a Move by Lady Bree, which is an album which is about 23 minutes. So the first bunch of songs are about 18 minutes. And I know, okay, that first song, I'm going to be doing that. And then I've got a sense of, okay, I don't want to spend too long in the shower. Because, you know, you can sometimes fall in love with being in the shower and you just want, but like if I'm washing my hair, I don't put that on, but just normally day-to-day stuff. But yeah, it's kind of, hey, I'm doing that, and then the last two songs, which are slow, that's when I'm drying myself, so that's quite nice.
Oh, that's good pacing. I think there's something nice about estimating, getting a sense of time without necessarily knowing exactly what time it is. So every morning I try to make sure I do a bit of light stretching. It's only about 5-10 minutes, but I try to do it every morning. It sort of sets the tone of the day for me. And in that time, I do tend to be sort of, you know, going to work after. So I want to, you know, I don't want to end up taking half an hour, but I also don't want to keep looking at my phone or a clock because it'll make me nervous. I'll see a message. So I put some songs on, and then I have a rough sense of, oh, it's been about 4 minutes because that's one song, without, you know, worrying about the exact time.
Yeah, and when I'm working, I do like to put on an album that's about 40 minutes. So it's like, okay, once this happens, maybe I need to do the other thing. And thank you for saying hello, Legends, a lovely person as well from Hawaii, I believe. And yeah, it's a really international show today. UK, Hawaii, I mean, very American. I mean, America, the continent, obviously, Nova Scotia, like, or Europe and America. So we're representing two continents of the world. I mean, we are adjacent continents, kind of.
Adjacent in a sense.
Yeah, it's not like Europe and Africa or South. But anyway, so as always, feel free to comment, ask questions from like follow. And we are going to talk about the Croydon
Playfest.
There it is, Playfest, there. Playfest, there.
This is actually really hard to move at the right pace.
I'm skilled. I've had a lot of practice. But yes, let me share some photos, and why don't you maybe talk about some of the games that you played? I believe you played 6 games, is that right?
5, 6, it's
6 including your own.
Yes, absolutely, that would be it. It was really fun there at Croydon yesterday. I got there for about 11 for the first round of games, and took off around 8-ish after the last round. I would have said around 30, 40 people, maybe, something like that.
So it's a decent turnout.
It's
how many non-designers were there, would you say?
It was a very designer-heavy crowd, so I know some of the folks there were playtesting and didn't. I can go this way. There we go.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, I think there were some folks who played and didn't necessarily play their own game, but they are designers, the ones I know of. Or, you know, someone brought a partner or friend. But it was still really good turnout and lovely energy. So one of the first games I played was Towers of, butcher the pronunciation now, the Towers of Gimignano. It's a Euro game set in Italy by Dean Morris. And aside from the awesome plastic minis, it's just a really fun level of thinking about, how to stack your bonuses together. There was a mini octopus as well, with who I named Nine. It was actually not needed for the game, but it was good fun to have around. So I really enjoy setting off with a more thinky game in the morning, because I knew I was gonna sort of mentally
you get tired, right?
Yeah, exactly. Didn't win, but I was okay with that. I also played Alpha Dots by Mark. This is a sort of word deduction game. It's a little bit like Wordle. It's not Wordle.
So are these dots the Braille?
Yes. Oh, I'm really impressed you know that. So I heard about this backstory after I played the game, but that was, I think, how the game got inspired. So just, Braille was cool. I wonder if I can do something related to that.
And is this a game, is it the case that learning the Braille will be an actual course of the game, that by the end of it, you will be able to say, oh, yeah, that's A and that's C or whatever?
It's not built in the game, but I can imagine you getting used to it after. It's sort of a two-player guessing a word and
it's all built based on positions. It's all built-in familiarity with it. So, but how would you give a 30-second pitch of this one or explanation?
It's a two-player deduction word game. That is inspired by Braille.
That sounds really. I'm really intrigued. I would definitely have liked to play this one.
I'm sure it'll be there next time. It was a fun job, a bit different as well. Not the kind of thing I usually play, but I really enjoyed it. I also played. Just waiting for her. There we go. A game about giving presents to your host.
Oh yeah, I played this one on Friday by Mandela Fernandez. Skrion. Anyway, Mandela's also the designer of Glasgow, because they were born in Glasgow. We grew up together, sort of.
You grew up together? I didn't know that.
And it was like we grew up in the same city and we were aware of each other, at school. It's not like we hung out all the time, but we played Magic occasionally at Magic the Gathering. I don't think there is any other game name. When people say they play
Magic.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And then we kind of got reacquainted in London, which was lovely.
Aww.
And Mandela's working in the academic areas, and it's just really interesting. I played this. I was in love with it. I felt like there's a really interesting sort of social game of which ones to run, but we had it felt, honestly, I would play this again as it was for pleasure. And there's not a lot of prototype stats I can say that about, because there's just so many games out there. But this is doing something unique with the hidden placement and everyone else saying, okay, when do I put my finger? The order, and it's a push your luck, where the push your luck is brought on by everyone else.
I think it is definitely very unique, and we saw a lot of that interesting social interaction as well, because you basically take turns to be the person pushing your luck, and the ordering in which things happened made a big difference. So the player who went before me didn't push their luck and should have. So I pushed my luck and I shouldn't have. So you can see how the chain of people chose to make decisions because of what happened in the last round.
Yes, and I think that's a lovely thing. And I'm not sure there needed to be any changes, although there were a few that we suggested, but I'll be very curious to see it in its future edition. And Legends wants to let us know that about 3 weeks ago, they found a streamer that they used to play Magic the Gathering with about 5 years ago. Yeah, it's like a really small world, all these people hanging out, playing Magic Gathering. It's a thing that a lot of designers and people who are super into board games do, because I think it gives you that sense of being able to modify the game yourself, being able to do it yourself. And also wants to say, I was lucky to hang out with 3 board game designers this year, and they made actually popular board games, which was cool for me. How do you define that, though, actually popular? That almost sounds like it's not a binary. Do you know what I mean?
No, and it depends on what you mean by popular. And popular to someone might not be popular to someone else. Monopoly were a big deal to some people. Others would hate that.
But if Elizabeth McGee, rose from the dead, You know, I think that all of us would be like, wow, this is a pretty big deal. Come on.
Awe-stricken, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, if I said I was the designer of Go, you know, because I've been alive for like that many years, I think everyone would be impressed. Come on.
Just for the age, if nothing else.
But in all seriousness, yeah, something where it is mass market, because Anachrony, like Dave Turksey, is in some circles a very popular designers, but outside of the hobbyist space, no one knows any of their games, frankly. And that's really interesting. The board games that they had designed were Sagrada, Bosk, and Cat Rescue. So would that be Erica Buyaris? I'm trying to remember who designed Cat Rescue and Sagrada. Is that Daryl Andrews, maybe, for Sagrada? I don't know.
I thought Sagrada was a male designer.
Yeah, Daryl Andrews.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm not sure about Bosk or Cat Rescue.
And yes, Erica, I was right. Let's see if I'm right about Daryl Andrews. Yes, Daryl Andrews. But Cat Rescue, I don't have any idea. Yeah, I know all the people.
Encyclopedic knowledge. Look at
you. Yes, back to the games that you've been playing. So the other game that you played was Eco Warrior by Helen.
This was a really interesting one for me. So I think it's Helen's first game. It's a trivia game, which is not frankly usually my type of thing, and it's, as you can guess, it's sort of about the planet, animals, plants, natural things. The unique thing about it is not just trivia questions. There is a mechanic. So you can see the 3 decks in the picture.
And it looks like they're all shuffled up. So they might have the same thing, but they might not. So you get normally an option of 3. Sometimes it might be like an option of 2. In theory, it could be an option of 1, but it's really unlikely.
Exactly. And there are 6 types there. So they're blue, which is ocean, yellow, which is, I think, desert, and green, which is
land
or nature. I can't remember the name, but, you know, it's a
and then you've got animals and plants.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect a set of 6 unique ones, basically. And whenever you do like 2 of the same color, there's a special mechanic with a question that goes around to everyone. So that was quite
enjoyable. If you collect loads of the same color, you can sort of share them in. And is there a twist on the typical question thing? Because it's interesting. There's so many trivia games out there, and part of it is just coming up with cool questions, but then part of it is also like, what are how can we frame the game? Because I've seen, obviously, Wits and Wagers, where you're betting on other people's answers, Confident, where you're able to guess a range. So I could say, this is somewhere between 1 and 1 million. If I say, how many episodes of this TV show are there? But the person who's the most confident gets the most points. So you want to be the narrowest range without being wrong. Yeah, exactly. And so is there anything like that, or is it just a straight up answer the question, get the thing, or don't get the thing? If you don't answer wrong, it goes away. And
the main twist right now is because there are 6 types of cards. Whenever you get to the same color, it triggers a special round. Usually the questions are for you. You know, you win the game card. When you trigger a special round, is to defend your pair.
Okay.
And that question everyone answers. We played it with the mechanic of how we do the answering for that round, but those are all things that I had to guess. So, for example, what percentage of the world's desert is covered in sand?
Oh, that's interesting. It's like, I guess the frozen tundra is like a desert. So I guess I'm going to say, like, do you need to be spot on though? Because that's impossible.
The closest person is.
The closest person. So I would guess 18.
Well, you're actually really close. I believe the answer was 20. Might have been 20 something, but it was quite a low version. But you sort of guess, and it's kind of thing where it's fun because actually no one's going to know exactly, and you have a shot. But if the person who triggered the defense gets it, their pair is defended.
Not. So it's just the closest. It's not like the closest without going over. So you need to be.
No, it's the closest.
Okay.
Yeah. But if somebody else gets it right, so if I triggered it and you got it right, because 18 was a fantastic guess.
And so everyone is in it, including the person who's defending. Okay.
Exactly. If you get it right, you get to take one of those 2 from me. So there's a little bit of player interaction, but it's not, it only happens now and then, and you'll be someone who's ahead who's triggering it. So it's not too much that way. But yeah, for me, that sets up a bit. And also the questions were very well done. There's a nice fun fact, and trigger a lot of organic sort of table like discussion and learning, which is what they wanted the game to be about.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I like the sounds of that. And for the record, Cat's Rescue was designed by Tate Wu, if I'm pronouncing. Is that like? I mean, I'm just. Is that the same name as the Tate Modern? And like.
That's what I'm thinking. Sounds like the Tate Modern almost.
But
it's a cool name, named after a museum.
So you played one other game that was not your own, which is Bar Stars.
The magnificent Bar Stars.
Okay.
This is always really fun games. I've played this once before.
Oh, it's not Tate Wu, it's Tate Wu.
Ah, right. I see. There's Wu is potentially a Chinese surname or Chinese origin surname, I guess. That's a very unique name. Anyway, the
Magnificent Bar Stars. And I do love this thing, and I know that they thanked me at UK Games Expo because they had coasters, because I told them, you need to have coasters. Come on, why are you not doing coasters? It fits the game perfectly. Do some coasters. And then they did coasters. Idea. Thank you. I'm not full of them, but I sometimes have them.
And you share them, which is always the nice thing. So for those who haven't played this game before, it's a very social game. It's you're mixing a cocktail and you take turns being a customer, and everyone mixes a drink for the customer, and you can also sort of mess with other people's concoction or mess with their bar or enhance your own. The event was yesterday for Litton Steam. So I played one round of Magnificent Bar Stars, and it's always really good fun because it's very imaginative, creative, and also it just changes based on the group you're with. And it's all up to how the person's interpreting that customer and that card. I lost by a mile, but it doesn't really matter really in the game, and it was fantastic fun.
Sounds fantastic. And the event that we're talking about, it was within the past 24 hours. So if you're in another time zone, you could consider it today. It was, it started at 11 o'clock, so officially 23 hours and 40 minutes ago.
Exactly.
And then it carried on until 8 o'clock yesterday, which is 14 hours, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, it could well be today, depending on where you are.
Yeah, it could be today, depending on your perspective. But from my perspective, it was yesterday, but, you know. So we've talked about the games, and let's not forget one that you came to playtest yourself, which is Cake of Doom. I hope that there's a photo of this.
Actually, I don't think I posted one myself, but Alex might have done one. There we go. That would be an excellent photo. It's a really good capture of Richard's expression there as well. So this is Cake of Doom, of course.
This is your game that you're working on with Amar.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure I say it not quite right, but we try our best. So yeah, we played Cake of Doom for a round towards the end of the day, which is a good fit because it's sort of a light, casual game with a lot of table talk. I had four players who were aliens taking over the world with cakes. It was extra fun with design as always, I feel, because people are very good at immediately getting to grasp with the game and will sort of notice extra rules as well. It was very interactive, a lot of sabotaging going on within the group, and in the end, very dramatic, where someone sort of made a game-winning bid, failed off by one, and then next person snatched in and took it from them, which is the moment in the photo.
That's the kind of good moments you want. And Legends, yes, this happened on July 2nd, which it still is over there. And this is not Omari Akil that you might know from a lot of previous games. This is a Londoner-based person called Amar.
His name is spelled A-M-A-R.
And it's both of your first-time designs. So neither of you are published designers yet, but you're well on the way. It's looking great. And I'm sure that, well, depending on your funding goal, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that you'll be able to pick up people who will love the game.
Fingers crossed. It's always a joy to find the right match, isn't it, with someone who loves your type of game.
Now, we've talked about the games that you played, and there's a few photos from Alex who shows a little bit of the sense of what was going on there. and that's Pearls, that's you, and yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on, lots of people that I recognize. I did notice, I hate bringing this up because it's not something that you can necessarily address massively, but I did notice that there weren't a lot of female presenting people there. How many were there, would you say, in this sea of 30, 40 designers?
You're absolutely right. There were maybe 3, just judging by officially, like maybe 3 or 4 of us at one point. To be honest, it's part of the reason I was quite excited when Helen brought her game Icarus to playtest. A fellow female designer who's brought a game, which is nice to see. So it wasn't the most diverse day, but
cool. I don't know this
Mm.
person or the previous person. That's exciting.
The other one was Mel, who came with David.
And there's some sort of raffle?
There was. So there were very nicely donated games from Scott, obviously Swatch, and what you're seeing in the photo, Magnet, obviously from
James.
Yes, there we go. We only just figured out the name, and I've immediately lost it in my brain. So there was a prize draw.
Can I just say that I am drinking tea in Pearl's flat, and at the bottom of these teacups, there's a tiny little cat. I can't show this on camera, but because of the angle, but there's a little silhouette of a cat's head.
They're also outside of the mug, so
oh yes,
you can see it on camera as well.
You can see what. So imagine one of these cat silhouettes on the bottom of the cat mug. Yeah, I'm going to call it a cat mug.
It is absolutely a cat mug. In case it's not obvious, I have cats.
So let's talk about the structure, because that's what I would be interested in. So the doors technically opened at 10, I believe.
Yes. When I walked in just before 11, and there was already sort of a good dozen people there, especially designers setting up. And
then was it kicking off basically every 2 hours sharp at 11, 1, 3?
Almost. So every 2 hours was a slot, but there were always a 15-minute break in between. So there was a chance to set up, bathroom break, quick brief outside, order some food downstairs. The venue, by the way, is called Matthew's Yard, and they were very lovely in letting us use the upstairs space, actually cost-free, and believe all the sort of proceeds went to a charity, which is a lovely thing. So check out the space if you're in Croydon.
And so when you say the 15 minutes, does that mean that you go from 11 o'clock until 12:45, and then there's a 15-minute break?
You go from 11 to 1, and then there's a 15-minute break, and then the next slot is 1:15 rather to 3:15, and there's a 15-minute break, so then 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay, so every slot is a full 2 hours. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, and then within each slot, for the shorter games, how did that work? Were people picking their table at the start, or for the shorter games, were they kind of swapping in between things?
There was a mix. So there is a sign up, and I know a lot of people did sort of put the name against games at the start, but they were very good to make sure there was always at least, I think, 2 short games, if not more, in the same 2-hour period. So you sort of get 1 hour, like Kick of Doom did, and then people on the table could do a swap almost. So you would get.
So some of the people who'd okay, I've given all the feedback I can, I'll go to this other game. And then did anyone actually stay with the shorts games and be okay, I'm just going to stay here for the full 2 hours? Or I guess some people might have needed a break as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are times where, because not all games are 1 hour either. Sometimes people just took a break or took a short walk outside.
Yeah.
People did play multiple rounds, but it depended on the game and the person, really.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I was quite unclear, to be honest, how it would work is. Yeah, and so the way we do it on Friday, it's basically 90 minutes, and you do what the designer does, whatever they want for that time.
Yeah.
And so it's very clear and upfront, but yeah, and then so lunch, I guess if you wanted to get something for lunch or dinner, then it would be up. Some people would be eating while they're playing potentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people might be oh, just before the game starts. It's not like you can't go to the loo because there's 2 hours, there's plenty of time. But the 15-minute break might be enough to get your food, or it might be that you do sit out for one slot or whatever.
Personally, I was eating a sausage sandwich as I played Magnificent Bar Stars. So, yeah.
Great, and I'm sure that they didn't mind. What would you say were the best parts of the event?
It's an old answer, but it was seeing a lot of people. So there were familiar faces, and it was lovely to see them. And they were also meeting new people. Like I found it really exciting to meet Helen, who designed Eco Warriors, because we were able to do a bit of talk afterwards about sort of what she plans to do with the game, taking it forward, and things like, oh yeah, where do you do a prototype? How do I pre-match your cards and all that sort of stuff, which is very exciting and energizing in a way.
Nice.
You see something and they're like, oh, that was really helpful, and it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, and so connecting with people. Legend says, I played 6 different board games since last week Saturday. So Pearl is a pro board gamer in one day. I mean, Pearl's a pro board gamer no matter what. I mean, before yesterday, frankly. I mean, you played, how many games do you think you've played in total? You've played hundreds, right?
It would probably be in the hundreds. Yeah, I don't know, actually.
And if people are wondering, this is, I can't tell who is who.
This one's Ovaltine.
Ovaltine, you call it Ovaltine, okay. So like with a slightly posh accent.
Oh, that wasn't deliberate. It might just be how I sort of say different English words differently, I think, depending on who I got that word from.
Okay.
So whoever taught me that word had a posh accent, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so, and then the other one's called Horlicks, and then this is a wee kitty who's wanting a wee bit of attention, possibly. Legend says, I played 100 different board games last year.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that Frank West's average is about 1 a day, designer of Isle of Cats, and Frank is really into just playing as many as they can for their own personal education, and frankly being able to make that into their life. I'm marginally envious because they are actually able to pay the rent, quite comfortably at this point, which is amazing for them.
Of course it is.
But were there any things that you can say this could have been better?
I think it could have possibly been a bit clearer how things were going to work beforehand for me as well, personally. I'll preface by saying I possibly could have just looked deeper for where resources might have been already. But yeah, I think like you, I wasn't completely sure how it was going to work until I sort of showed up, and it worked out fine, I think. But yeah, but maybe just a bit more explanation beforehand. What happens if you short a game? What happens if the slot it's free and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like, okay, if you've got something less than an hour, you'll just get your hour and then you'll swap. That feels like a reasonable thing, because frankly, if you've got a shorter game, traditionally, I think most people do want to play it multiple times. And with a shorter game, the discussion normally takes a good half hour anyway. So there's not much point in, like, especially with someone who's not been part of that crowd before, you always want at least, I would say, 40 minutes, because it always kind of ends up being that, even for a 5-minute game, if people have stuff to say.
Exactly. And I think especially with a group that was mostly designers, there were a lot of ideas and thoughts, and people were very articulate, as opposed to maybe if you had a general sort of public playtest, people give feedback differently.
And yeah, Frank's a brilliant designer. City of Kings, first game that they made.
I didn't know that one.
So the first one was City of Kings, and then Valdorian Gardens, I think, which was a small thing. And then Isle of Cats is their big knockout success, because, hey, cats and hey, polyominoes, what's not to love? And apparently Legends has played one board game a day since December 13, 2020. Oh, by the way, could I borrow, I think we've got the same plug, if you could plug that in. Amazing, thank you so much. So we talked about information. I think that there was a slight lack of that. Was there anything else that could have been improved?
I think it would be good to, when it grows a bit, maybe next year, I think they intend to run it again.
Or is it only an annual thing?
Or maybe semi-annual. There's definitely ambition to sort of go into a proto-spiel type thing. I think it would be nice to have more people who were there to play tests. And there were people, I think, who weren't necessarily bringing games themselves, but a slightly wider mix of, I guess, why people were there.
And the games raffle, who was that for? Like, was that was everyone involved in that raffle, or was it just the people who were there to playtest? Because it feels like, like the designers shouldn't be part of that raffle. It feels like it should be like, if you didn't bring your own game, then you get to enter the raffle.
That's a nice thought. I think in practice it was everybody there. I think they did change their plan a bit last minute. It was going to be based on like if you filled in a feedback form or something.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah, but I think in the end, because of how things turned out in practice, like a lot of people were sort of doing verbal feedback instead of forms, and because it was 30, 40 people total, we sort of just put everyone's names in a hat, because actually all the designers also did a lot of playtesting.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, it was one of the rules, and if we actually, if I minimize this for just a second, and then I look up Playfest, I'll actually look up the Minerva. Actually, you're here. You should be. What else was brilliant? You also talked about the people.
Yeah, so there were the other thing that was really fun with people was getting to talk to people who I sort of met in passing but never actually got a chance to play the game or to talk with properly. For example, Scott, who organized the whole event for Minerva Games. I sort of crossed paths with him on Twitter at various events, but said hi very briefly and never really got a chance to have a conversation. So although he was very busy, of course, as an organizer, it was really lovely to actually be able to say hi and hear a bit more about, what's going on with him. So yeah, all sorts of different connections.
So it is very much about the people and bringing back the thing and making the screen bigger again. Like at the bottom, there were just 4 rules, which is give as much as you get. So if you've got a 1-hour game that sits free playtesters, you should aim to play at least 3 hours of other people's games. But I mean, presumably because it's like the 2-hour slot, it almost feels like it should just be come for 1 slot, however many people you need, make sure to give that back. I don't know.
Yeah.
Please buy your food and drink from the venue. No external food and drink is allowed. I have to, like I did say to them, like I'm on an all-potato diet, and I was expecting them to say, like, yeah, would it, like, I guess my implicit question was, is it okay to just, have some potatoes? And yeah, I wasn't told that, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to have to break this diet. And I did see that they did have some potato heavy thing, but then I'd have to ask them, like, is there any dairy at all, or can you put no oil into this thing? Which then asking them to make a special thing feels like, please give constructive feedback, which is a great thing. Designers at this event will have different teams and experience within the hobby industry. Consider this when framing your feedback, which is really useful because not everyone wants to make, I mean, at this point in my career, and it's also different for the individual game. Like some games, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make this game, even if it sells 50 copies, that's okay. Or, well, if it sells 90 copies, that's okay. And then, which I'm probably going to do because of the number of conventions I go to and everything. But some game, and like, yeah, I could imagine making a game where it was just for an in-joke, where it was like 50 copies. But at the same time, I do try with most of the games I'm working on to think, how many people could this reach? If it can't reach hundreds of thousands of people, then I might give it a bit less attention than a game that can. And that's like just my position of where I'm trying to be and me trying to make this into a profitable full-time thing, which is not everyone's game, frankly. I mean, I don't know, what would you say your aims are right now?
Yeah, I mean, with King of Doom, it is a very broad appeal game, but personally, the goal with that whole process is I want to get to a point where I'm able to produce some copies of that game, no matter how few, and just to get it on the shelf and see it become a reality. It's nice if it reaches more people, but I want to, I guess, almost follow it through the whole process.
Like it's kind of about having the satisfaction of finishing it, and like even if it was like, okay, 100 copies on a print on demand, but in a fairly nice box, then that would make you happy.
It's making 100 people happy, and I'll take that.
And The final thing, which I did really appreciate them having there, we celebrate diversity and inclusion, and every attendee should feel safe and respected. Hateful speech or attitudes will not be welcome. And I really appreciated them having this. Let's actually touch upon the, unperceived gender imbalance, because, unless you ask everyone, you don't necessarily know everyone. But do you think that that could be improved? Do you think that there could be things that they could do to big it up for the local community, to maybe have mothers there, to have daughters or sisters or whatever? Not of the designers, that's not what I mean, just general, all sorts of people.
Yeah, it's a good question, and as you kind of alluded to, I think it's difficult because it's sort of thing where it's worth addressing, but it's also hard to, there's no magical.
Yeah, I don't believe that this is. I'm not trying to say that Scott or James did anything wrong with this thing, and that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying it is an elephant in the room, and I think that it's worth addressing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what are things that you might be able to do to attract, I guess, a more diverse mix of genders in the room. I don't know if there's anything about like the timing or the location. I mean, this is me thinking out loud now. I'm not sure.
Like with the timing, I mean, it being on Pride was a. I'm sure that's just something that they were unaware of. They weren't able to get to different dates. But I'm actually at the picnic I was at, I met a designer who lives in Croydon, and Emily and Andrew January. And if it hadn't clashed with that event, maybe if it had been in 2 weeks' time, maybe they would have come, or if it's been in 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, I don't know. And it's worth thinking not just about does it clash with other board gaming events, but does it clash with events that people out with our community would be really excited by?
Oh, things like, even stuff like school holidays. I think it would really matter if you might have kids, it might be a difficult time for you, or that sort of thing.
And it's interesting because the question of, is this child suitable? Because I know that on a Sunday, there's someone who often comes to the Haringey Board Game Club, which is near where I used to live. So it used to be about 10 minutes for me. Now it's like 50 minutes. So I go maybe twice a year or something. I stay I've been twice this year since I moved away. But the point is that they sometimes do Sunday events, and on a Sunday, well, Kerry needs to bring the kids, and it's a case of, well, as long as we've got some things that the kids can play and some things that will keep them occupied, okay, I'll play with them. Ideally, something that interests me as an adult and also is safe for them to play. Maybe asking people what age range their games are for, because I didn't see that addressed on any of the games.
That's a really good point. Or marking it, marking family friendly or not, and marking a rough age range would be a good, easy thing to do.
Because I know that not everyone is comfortable with children, and that's okay. Like sometimes there's a reason why you want to say this is an event for people over 18, because maybe you're just more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But for sure, having that, okay, this is, why is this not suitable for all? Is it complexity? Is it the theme? What is there? And if it's like, okay, we can estimate that this is 10 plus, I estimate that this is suitable for, like, just estimating an age is probably quite a good starting point, where, a lot of my games, I would say some of them might even be 5 plus, and some of them might be like 10 plus, the one that I was going to bring, because it's a bit more intricate, it's got a little bit more to think about. And then Seize the Power, which is about discriminatory rules and negotiation and subjugation of power and bigotry, that would be like 18 plus with this like trigger warning.
Yeah, that would make sense. And obviously our playtest, so I think it's, as you said, it's about estimating a rough sense. And, it's ultimately up to whoever's brought that child to, make a judgment as well.
Of course. But the the more information you can give people, and I understand that this is difficult because it did make me think, also cycling over, hey, maybe I'm not as clear as that I could be on the Friday that, yeah, if you want to come late, that's totally okay at the start. Come anytime between 10 and 11. If you can't make it for 10, come anytime before 1 o'clock. If you can't make it for 10, come anytime before 3 o'clock. If you only come for part of the day, don't expect to get your game play tested. But if you're just coming to play other people's things, you're welcome to just come for one slot as you wish. And that's why we have slots, so that people can come for just the morning or just the afternoon or whatever. And yeah, just the more information you can give, the better, I think.
Absolutely. I think there might be something about time of day as well. Just thinking that we actually had caught up with people who took trains into London. So Alex came up from Brighton. Helen and someone else actually came from I think it was Newcastle.
Wow.
So quite far away actually. And of course that does mean that they couldn't stay for, I think it was before the last slot. They have to actually make it home in a reasonable time. But so people definitely sort of make use of some flexibility, but maybe there's something about how to time that that would make it easier for people who want to travel a little bit.
What did you think of the spreadsheet system? So like all the games were put into a spreadsheet, and before it was like, okay, this is how the games are going to be, and people please mark your name against the games that you would like to play. Do you think that the marking the names against the games you would like to play contributed anything to it?
See, I didn't realize I could mark my name against games until I turned up, because I still only opened the spreadsheet and didn't scroll to the right, so I didn't realize that existed.
Okay.
However, having come from that, I think it worked fine, because what happened was there were people like me who didn't pay enough attention.
Who were kind of floating voters.
Exactly. But then, we could sort of see how it looks in a day. Also, things change in a day. Maybe someone has come and someone else has come.
Like I cancelled.
Yeah, and I think there were people who might not have gotten the gameplay, but there's a chance they did. So that wasn't on the list. So having some floaters worked quite well. And then people being able to sign it worked well, because I can see that sometimes people really wanted to see that game. Maybe because they've been waiting a while, maybe because they saw it before, want to see progression. So I feel like that worked out to be a nice mix. Plus, they had a printout, so you could put your name against something on the spot if you wanted to.
I think it was interesting because, yeah, for me, that kind of fed into my anxiety as well.
Okay.
Because for me, it was like, two people have signed up to play this, but then they're also playing something else in the same slot, and how does that work? And one person signing up for this, but then I've not managed to get that to a state where it's good enough, and now I feel like, this is on me because I do everything quite last minute. So then it was like, I've got to do that, but I can't quite get that done, and that doesn't work unless there's two people playtesting it, because it's a blind test. And if there's only one person who signed up to this game, then how does that work? And if I've got because my games were really short, and so it was listed 4 times, and then so people signed up to 2 of them, but then the other 2, what's going to happen here? And that kind of made me worry that no one was going, one of them was not going to run, but then that person would be disappointed, or was it worth me bringing I did? I don't know. It's a lot. I was almost certainly overthinking it, and whether I'd brought both of them or whether I'd just brought the one, I'm sure it would have probably worked out, but it kind of fed into my own anxiety. And I think just a little bit of information about, by the way, anyone who hasn't, if you don't choose a specific game, you will choose one on the day.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Exactly. I think it's that clarity. And actually, hearing you talk about it, I feel like if I had realized you could sign up, I would have probably had the same, because I would have looked at who signed up to my game and how it lays out. So I almost accidentally got the best of both worlds there.
Nice. So is there anything else that you would like to say about the Playfest yesterday?
No, nothing else I'm burning to say. It was, there could always be things that are better, but I'm really glad I made it. I'm really glad that got organized, and I look forward to seeing the next one and how it'll be bigger and better.
And you can see a little tour of the first game that's been played over there. So at this point, it's your turn to ask me a question. Question of the day. Question of the day. It's a little question before we go on our way. Question of the day.
What would you name 2 cats if you had them?
If I had 2 cats and I had to name them within the next minute, oh.
They're female cats, if it makes a difference.
So Cluedo feels, Cluedo feels a bit masculine. I'm thinking I would like a board game title.
This is looking sideways to my games shelf for inspiration.
Concordia is actually quite a nice name.
Oh, yeah, it's got a ring to it. A bit like a goddess almost.
Yeah. I mean, it almost should be named, but yeah, Twinit. Yeah, I would name them after games that I really love, like Twinit and Go. Yeah.
That's a good name. Twinit.
Yeah, I would name them Twinit and Go. That's what I'm going with if I had to name them right now.
Excellent cat names.
And so for everyone in the audience, if you had to name 2 cats right now in the next 10 seconds, what would you name them? So at this point, over to you. What's really up to you? You can share a button if you want to. So after this, I'm going to gaze out Pearl's magnificent view for a minute, and then we'll play some 9x9 Go,
Yes.
and then maybe some 19x19. We'll see how it gets on, and then we'll enjoy a day. I've also brought some games that we might play or not play. It's up to you.
Excellent.
And then yeah, just having a bit of a chat and a chinwag. I've brought also some potatoes to continue my potato diet. I only have 2 bits of potato, but also a whole bunch of baby potatoes that, if it's okay with you, if I'm hungry, would it be okay if I boiled some?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be doing. And what are the rest of the day after we split up and go our separate ways? Not forevermore, but
for the day.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to cycle back. I feel like I've got a good cycle today. It's at least an hour and a half cycle, I would say.
Excellent exercise.
And yeah, maybe try and start some life admin. Do a bit of cleaning, do a bit of sorting out stuff, and sorting out what money I earned and did spent last year, because I need to write that for tax reasons. And also I would like to just do a bit of reading of books and going through stuff.
What are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading multiple things. I'm reading a book about board game design, done by Eric Dean. Erin managed to interview a whole load of really awesome people, including one of my heroes, Richard Garfield.
Oh.
And there's all sorts of people there. Matt Leacock, there's a lot of Carla Kopp. It's basically a bunch of interviews. That's good. But what I'm specifically talking about is I'm going to be reading through comics and quick magazines in an attempt to kind of think, do I need this? Do I not need this? And also reading Gold documents and that sort of life admin.
Okay, yeah. Different kind of reading.
Yeah. But is there anything that you want to share? Anything that you think that you really care about? Something that's fun and frivolous, something that's super serious? What are you up to?
One of the fun things I probably do today is go bouldering tonight.
Ooh, nice.
It's a hobby I picked up a few years ago from some friends, and it's something I enjoy doing, and it's really good because a bit like Go, it works. You can do it with a group of mixed abilities, and everyone can still have fun.
Because everyone can be working on different puzzles.
Exactly. So if you haven't tried it, potentially want like it of climbing up some artificial rocks, look up some bouldering gyms near you.
And at this point, to recap and wrap up before we finish up, so basically, it was a good day, and you had fun. You played good games. Everyone was kind. Everyone was lovely. And how would you summarize it in 10 words or more?
Lots of games. in excellent company.
Okay, you are very efficient, except I did say 10 words or more.
Oh, more. See, my brain just assumed it was less. Okay, lots of games with excellent company and lovely social interactions. There you go.
Exactly 10 words. That was well done. Congratulations. And yeah, we had a lovely chat, and also clocks are brilliant. That is the title of the show. It's not really, but if you want to check me out, I am, of course, Stuff by Bez in all the places, and I will be redoing my shop at some point in the near future. Also, if you want to check out my forthcoming Kickstarter, please do check it out. So I am going to be possibly at the end of this month, possibly at the start of next month. It's going to be very close, either the week before, the last week of July, or the 2nd of August. If you check out kickstarter.com/project/buybez/ cute-comical-we-whimsical-creatures-and-noises. No, this is why I should have probably, maybe when I generated the URL, I should have had fewer words and just done cute comical creatures and then added the words after generating the URL.
Yes, because it does. It's a feature, not a bug. That you use the old name.
So I actually tweaked it, so it now says noise making, cute comical creatures, a party game, which hopefully explains what it is. And it is a game about cute comical creatures and trying to identify them after some mixed noises. If you're interested, then please do check this out post haste and click the little notify me on launch button, because it really helps everyone on at the start. And if you would like to check out Pearl, then where would you like to be checked out?
You can also follow our upcoming Kickstarter campaign. Just look up Kick of Doom on Kickstarter. Also, you can go to www.kickofdoom.com, find us on Twitter or Instagram as well. If you are into crowdfunding and Kickstarter, do give us a follow on that notify button, because as Beth said, it really does help build the momentum and spread the word.
Yeah, I think it's only live stuff, so
okay.
That doesn't quite work.
If you go on my Twitter profile,
Pearl.
it will be pinned. So yeah, just click on that.
That one. Kickstarter projects. Kick/Kick-of-Doom/Kick-of-Doom. Congratulations! So you've already got 3 people, and there we go. And that is a lovely. Now you've got 84 followers. A lovely little graphic there, looking good. Aliens take over the world with cakes. Let the bribery and sabotage begin.
Evil grin.
So do check that out, and also if you want to know what's coming up tomorrow, I am chatting about action points in games. I started a new series where I'm going to discuss the different mechanics of games. So I've talked about acting, which I believe is the worst labeled mechanic of them all, and then we went to action drafting, which was a really interesting to ponder, and then we're going to action points. And so, yeah, we'll read the section in the book, so I'll definitely be reading that, and also looking up some games tonight, because I do a tiny bits of preparation to make sure I know the games and how it can be used and everything. And then Tuesday, I'm going to have Ben Downton, designer of Micro Dojo. So that's exciting. So share, spread the word. Thank you, everyone, for watching and being part of it and all the support. Most importantly, thank you, Pearl, for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ovaltine, for shedding so much hair. That is a lot of hair.
I shouldn't have worn black.
Yeah. Are you willing for me to tilt the diameter?
Yeah, go for it. Everybody can have a quick look at Ovaltine.
That is Ovaltine.
Good kitty.
There we go. So if we get rid of that, there's Ovaltine. And for now, lots of love. And the only thing to say is bye, 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 bye.
This is a goodbye song. Bye bye. Bye bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye bye. Bye bye. This is the end of the show. Bye bye. Bye bye. And now it's time to go. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.